trash.
Hey guys, I'm Welshy, also known as the Cinema Snob with an accent.
No, you're not.
Yes, I agree. I am far superior to the Cinema Snob, and I've still got my accent.
I am going to fucking kill you.
Get in line. Now I'm going to open this video with what could be seen, I guess, as a fairly controversial viewpoint given my previous track record in reviews. I don't rate Wes Craven all that highly. Let me explain. I think he struck oil, found gold, and won the lottery when he created the character of Freddy Krueger, and he's been able to ride that momentum for most of his career. But between Nightmare on Elm Street and New Nightmare, can you name anything he did that received that kind of attention, acclaim, or was, I don't know, a hit? Now, don't get me wrong. I think when he's on fire, he is brilliant, but given the gap between Nightmare and New Nightmare, and especially since Scream 2, I just feel like he's been running on empty, and he hasn't been given anything new to do, save for one film. This film. I honestly think his best film is Wes Craven's New Nightmare. It's a great new look at an old tired franchise. It reinvents a character that had become a joke in a brilliant way. It drips with atmosphere, and for me, it's his peak as a director. And yes, this does mean I will look at it at some point. While I felt as far as the Scream films go, he peaked with Scream 2. Randy's death, the Gale chase, the Sydney car scene, these are all killer moments of tension that he's just not been able to match since. This is kind of foreshadowing my review of the fourth film, Scream 4. I honestly felt he was the weakest link in that film. The cast were on form, the script was funny and well written.
Scream 4 was shit.
Well, I think it was. But as far as the direction went, he didn't seem to be able to bring anything new to it. Red Eye, though, isn't really a horror film, it's more psychological. And this allowed him to branch out and try something semi-new. Released in 2005, the film follows Lisa, a hotel manager catching the red-eye flight home after attending her grandmother's funeral. At the airport, with the flight delayed, she befriends a fellow passenger and the two strike up a casual conversation while waiting for their flight. Parting ways, they board their flight and find, by chance, that they end up sitting next to each other. So far, so exciting. Watching the first half of the trailer, you could easily be fooled into thinking you're going to be watching some sort of romantic film. Hearing about it through word of mouth, it might sound like the most boring thing on earth. A film where over half the screen time is taken up with two of the characters sitting on a plane talking? Oh yeah, that sounds really interesting. But that kind of thinking is one of the reasons I feel Red Eye is a seriously underrated film. Despite its setting, it manages to keep you on your toes and focused on the screen, helped in no small way by having two very competent leads in Rachel McAdams, who, honest to God, has a smile that just makes me go weak. Look at her. Look at that smile. Anyway. And Cillian Murphy, one of my favourite actors, and has eyes that could turn you to stone. Look at them. Look at those eyes. I love you. I love you. The two have sparkling on-screen chemistry, which makes it all the more jarring when the twist actually occurs. In fact, I'd like to see them both appear in another film together, just to see if the chemistry's still there. Now, before some of you go crazy in the comments section and correct me on the pronunciation of his name, saying it's Cillian and not Killian, I just want you to know they call him Killian in the DVD extras. That's my story, I'm sticking to it. I've always liked to break Red Eye down into a named 3-act structure. Act 1 is the romance, Act 2 is the psychological thriller, and Act 3 is the stalk and slash. This honestly feels like the weakest part of the movie for me, which I'll explain why in due course. Now me, talk about movie. You, no one spoilers, go watch movie, come back, watch video. Capiche? The film opens with a flurry of activity. A wallet is stolen, fresh seafood is packaged up and driven away, while unseen faces look over plans to a hotel. The stolen wallet arrives at its unknown destination, and its contents analysed, while the crates are opened and whatever was inside is loaded up and driven away. And I bet it smells pretty bad too. At the Lax Atlantic Hotel, young, incredibly cute redhead Cynthia deals with two incredibly obnoxious pushy customers. Now, I've had to deal with people like this, so this woman has my unabiding sympathy. And my complete attention. God damn, she is cute.
I know, Mrs. Taylor, just calm down.
No, don't say that.
Calm down. Calm down.
She told me to calm down.
Don't tell us to calm down. We've been very calm.
I would eat these people for breakfast if I was serving them. Now, granted, my customer service isn't the best. I mean, I once told a customer who came into the store and told me she was leaving because she was unhappy with the service to leave faster, because she wasn't going fast enough. But then she had queue-jumped and insulted two of my colleagues and was just being a pushy bitch. So I think I was justified in doing that. Sadly, like everything I've ever told you, this is a true story. Cynthia needs help with the pushy pricks and calls her manager, and now we're introduced to Lisa, hotel manager and head of crisis control, returning back to Miami after the funeral of her grandmother. While balancing a taxi ride and a call from her father, Lisa manages to avert a situation by staying calm and talking Cynthia through the system.
Okay, you want to click on the crisis folder. You'll see a list of empty rooms. Give them fourth floor corner by the gym and comp them for tonight and tomorrow. Okay.
I wish my manager was that cool under pressure.
God, they totally threw me. They were such assholes.
Cynthia, there are no guests who are assholes.
No, they were assholes. Through the conversation, we're told that the Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security, Charles Keefe, will be staying in the hotel. Cynthia worries, but again, Lisa talks her through it. The whole sequence is a really great way to introduce Lisa. Through the dialogue and cutting, we see her as a level-headed woman who doesn't panic, keeps a cool head, and really knows her shit. I also like how the movie has already thrown in a few subplots, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's bombarded you with them. Arriving at the airport, she continues a conversation with her father, Joe, played by Brian Cox, and a few other plot elements are dropped into the conversation that will become important later on, most notably that his wallet's been stolen and the family home is being renovated. With the flight delayed, Lisa and the rest of the passengers stand in line waiting for boarding passes. Some passengers a little more patient than others.
Excuse me, you're letting them go, but we've been standing here for over an hour?
I've kind of always liked the way Killian is introduced here, standing in the background, and the shot doesn't really focus on him until he actually does something. Lisa lends a book to an older passenger, and then hitting up a conversation, he offers Lisa a seat at the bar while they wait for their flight. Lisa turns him down and heads to the bathroom to change. See, Lisa is a rape victim, so she's obviously a little touchy about sitting with a man she knows nothing about. While we don't learn of the rape yet, the scar, the previous scene, and Rachel's own performance all let the audience know that this is a woman who's had problems in her past. Also keep in mind that she's only been on screen less than 5 minutes if that, and we already know a lot about her through simple storytelling and character moments. Almost as if she's willing herself to move on, she takes the plunge and accepts the invitation.
Oh, you have?
No, I'm okay.
If I can guess.
Okay.
Now thinking about that, that must be one hell of a way to pull women. Okay, he doesn't guess the right drink, but it does break the ice, and the two strike up a conversation where we learn his name is Jackson.
Is it Jack for short?
No. No, I haven't gone by Jack since I was 10 years old. Last name's Rickner.
And given the amount of stupid names kids are being given these days by their parents, I'm pretty sure he'd have rather them just name him after the place they conceived him in.
It's very nice of your parents.
No, that's what I told him before I killed him.
The storm moves on and the flight is given the go-ahead, with Lisa and Jackson saying their goodbyes. Boarding the flight, however...
Well, I don't know. That says 18G.
You're kidding. You're not kidding.
Ooh, he's smooth. And also, that is one hell of an accent he's putting on. Let me remind you what he actually sounds like.
I mean, I was instantly taken by it, you know?
After helping a fairly flirtatious woman, the flight takes off, and Jackson, apparently keeping Lisa distracted due to her fear of flying, shifts the conversation to her father.
Thanks for distracting me.
That's not really what I'm doing.
I really like this. It's very subtle and a great performance from Cillian Murphy as he slowly changes from this really charming stranger into a very sinister villain. Jackson reveals he's the manager of a firm that specialises in hostile takeovers and assassinations, and is working with a group that intends to assassinate Charles Keefe. Honestly, the scene cut up like this really doesn't do it justice. Little character touches like Jackson becoming more and more condescending towards Lisa while still smiling that smile really paints him as a complete chauvinist, especially in regards to women.
That's why you need to keep listening.
No, I don't think I don't have to do that.
Yes, you do, if you want your dad to live.
Lisa calls for the stewardess, but Jackson pulls out her father's wallet and lays out the game.
I need you to call your hotel. It's very simple. Just use your managerial pull to move Keith from 3825 to suite 4080. One simple phone call saves your dad's life.
And here the main focus of the film really begins. Jackson wanting Lisa to make the call, and Lisa, knowing Jackson's intent, trying in any way to not let it happen. Her first chance occurs when the flirty woman takes Jackson away for a moment and the older woman takes her seat, wanting Lisa's address so she can return the book. Lisa scribbles a message and hands over the book just before Jackson returns. Jackson doesn't take too kindly to this. Ow! And then he does something I've always found interesting. He's very gentle with her. Okay, he just headbutted her. It's more of a moment of anger and then a moment of regret, and it just shows he's attracted to this woman, and it's annoying him that he is. While Lisa's unconscious, Jackson retrieves the book, and when Lisa awakens, she finds Jackson growing more and more threatening and desperate, with every failed attempt at making the call, showing that his ass is on the line too. Lisa again attempts to call, only this time turbulence knocks the phones out. Lisa attempts to bluff, but Jackson spots the play and snatches the phone, growing more and more irritated in the process.
Excuse me, peanuts or pretzels?
Peanuts.
Ma'am? No.
I don't know what it is about that reading, but I've always enjoyed it, especially that angry sort of slap he gives at the end. With the seatbelt sign turned off, Lisa goes to the restroom and collapses before gathering herself together. And spots another chance to thwart Jackson by writing a message on the mirror. Once complete, she exits the restroom. Jump scare.
Jump scare!
Okay, one of those flights.
They're good flights. Apparently. And during the struggle, Jackson discovers Lisa's scar.
Someone do that to you?
Again, this is a small beat that I've always found very interesting. In this moment, I've always read it as him being slightly annoyed that there is something about her that he doesn't know. During this whole sequence, he admits to following her for 8 weeks, and here discovers she has a secret that she's now keeping from him, despite him being completely honest with her. He's attracted to her, annoyed about it, is annoyed that there is something about her that he doesn't know that she is now keeping from him, and given his low opinion of women, this frustrates him even more.
But for the sake of time and sanity, let's break this down into a little male-driven, fact-based logic.
He almost loses complete control and nearly chokes the life out of her before collecting himself, and then the two of them leave the restroom together.
Excuse me. This isn't a motel.
Finally defeated with no other options, Lisa makes the call to Cynthia to authorise the changing of the rooms. Jackson, however, refuses to call off his hitman until Keith is dead. As the plane descends into Miami, the Keiths arrive at the hotel, and due to Lisa authorising the switch, they allow it to go ahead. As the plane arrives at Miami Airport, Lisa reveals the truth behind her scar.
He held a knife to my throat the whole time.
With his guard lowered and the seatbelt sign turned off, Lisa stabs Jackson in the throat, which damages his larynx, steals his phone, and makes her escape. None too pleased, Jackson follows and chases her through the airport, but Lisa manages to board an airport shuttle just in time to distance herself from him. Back at the Lax Hotel, some nearby fishermen pull up the crate we last saw during the opening title sequence, which houses a rocket launcher. Those guys are extreme. Extreme! What isn't copyright these days? And back at the airport, Lisa steals a car and using Jack's dying phone, she calls the hotel and orders Cynthia to remove Keith from his room. Cynthia pulls the fire alarm to evacuate the hotel and runs up to Keith's penthouse to warn them. Arriving just in time, the rocket is launched, destroying the room, but the Keiths just barely escape. With the phone now dead, don't you just hate it when that happens? Lisa returns to her father's house and, spotting the assassin at the door, she does what anyone would do in this situation. He ain't getting up. I gotta say, Joe seems to take the sudden appearance of his daughter in a trashed car with a dead body in his hall pretty damn well. Leaving her alone for a moment, Lisa calls Cynthia to make sure she's okay, only for Jackson to put in a reappearance after knocking out her father, and now Jackson and Lisa engage in a chase around the house. What I really like about this is now Lisa is the one in control. This is her house, she knows all the ways, and so for the first time in the film, she has the upper hand.
Where's your male-driven, fact-based logic now, Jack?
Lisa arms herself with a hockey stick and stalks the halls looking for Jackson. Now for me, this whole sequence feels very Scream-esque, specifically the Gale chase in the studio from Scream 2, and that scene was perfect in terms of direction and score. Whereas this one comes off, I don't know, kind of forced. This is one of the reasons I feel it lacks something as a third act clincher. It's Craven not really doing anything new and falling back on old habits. Spotting a chance, Lisa calls the police only for Jackson to strike. This is something that's always bothered me a tad. It's just like, if he's been standing behind the door the entire time, he obviously heard her. Why did he let her call the police? I mean, they have already been called, so they're already on their way. That's, you know, that's been settled. But he's been showing like this utter desperation since he got into the house. So it's just like, why would he just stand there and let her call the police? Why don't he just jump out and attack her then? A brief battle ensues, with Lisa disarming Jackson and gaining the upper hand with her hockey stick until Jackson is able to catch the stick and overpower her.
You're pathetic.
With the police closing in on the location, Jackson advances on Lisa only for her to find the hitman's gun and she shoots him, but not fatally, allowing him to disarm her and gives him a chance to finally kill her, only for Joe to shoot him again. Lying on the floor, seemingly still alive, the two share a look that could be interpreted in many different ways. I've always looked at it in two ways. The first way is that it's him accepting his defeat, and the second way is him accepting to himself that he could never have a woman who is as strong and as independent as Lisa. And to close the story, Lisa returns to the Lax Hotel to meet Cynthia.
I think we had a really good night, all things considered. Just that one incident, really.
I love her. She's just this relentlessly cheerful person. And very cute. And then the pushy couple make an unwelcome reappearance.
Here's what you can do. You can fill out a comment card at our front desk.
A comment card?
She asked us to fill out a comment card.
You want us to fill out a comment card?
Yes, I do. And after you finish, you can go ahead and just shove it up your ass.
Now that is something I'd like to say to some of my customers. And that's Red Eye. It's a film where this kind of review format really doesn't do it justice, as its strength comes from its scenes where Lisa and Jackson simply sit and talk. I personally think it's one of the strongest films Wes Craven's ever directed, helped by a great script, 2 very solid leads, and a great supporting cast. The Lisa-Jackson relationship is so strong that I'd be happy to see them release a sequel just so we can see them together again. And while there is a hate for the character by the end, there's also an attraction that comes across between them, especially from him, and this is something I'd really like to see more fully explored. Lisa ends this film as a new, stronger woman, and I'd have loved to have seen them meet again. Sadly, I don't think a sequel will ever happen, which I suppose you could say is a good thing, but personally, I think it's a shame given how much I enjoy these characters. And the film's also made me thankful that, for all the times I've been on a plane, which is quite a few times if I'm honest, and to the best of my knowledge, I've never had to sit next to an international hitman before. Now, granted, it could be a lot worse, and they could sit me next to just a complete hypocrite who would attack me for various things, but then go away and do the exact same things himself.
That's me! That's me! That's me!
Come on, I had to find a way to work him in somehow.